All of our programs are recorded in English and in Spanish. You can see those on YouTube and Facebook. We've been recording all of the programs since the beginning of the pandemic in April of 2020. And it's a big archive that we have. So if you are interested in finding some information in English or in Spanish, about different organizations, nonprofits, and other organizations at a city level, county level, you can find them here on our platform. Today's team is made up of Andrea and Marisol. Andrea is in comments and Marisol is in production. As you can see, I don't have a mask on because I'm working from home, just like the rest of our team, but we're here for you. You can reach us at 414-672-8090 or email soc@socmilwaukee.org. All of the information is also in the comments for you. Also, give us your questions, your comments. Give us a like, a share. We love the engagement from you guys. Well, let's see if we have, yes, Maria is here. Perfect. So now let's go to our interview with Maria Watts. She's been working with the Latino community for more than 30 years. Currently, she's with WIDA, Wisconsin Housing Economic Development Authority. Also, I want to emphasize that Maria is here not to give legal advice, and what you're hearing today on the show is just educational information. It's not legal advice. Hello, Maria. Hi, how are you? I'm great. Thanks for having me on the program. Of course. Thank you so much for being here with us. All right, so let's start with the interview. The time that we have is a little shorter, but so Maria, you were here last week and you talked a little bit about, buying a house and talking about how it's an investment and it's a way that we can have more value in this country. So talk to us a little bit more specifically about myself as a home buyer or somebody that wants to buy a home. How do we do it? I mean, I know now that it's a process, that it's an investment, but what's the process like? So today, let's talk about some different organizations that provide financial assistance, like banks and other organizations like WHEDA and other real estate agents. So let's get started. If you can tell us a little bit more about credit. What is credit and how does it affect us? Well, of course, credit is very important. I always remind folks in our audience that want to buy a house, if you're in the process, I remind them having good credit is better than having money in the bank, because if you don't have a good credit score but you have money in the bank, they're still not going to give you a loan. So lots of us culturally think that if I'm going to buy it, I should buy it with lots of cash. So then you don't have a lot of debt. But when you make an investment, such as buying your house, that does affect you if you don't have credit. So it is important to start with credit. It's not a difficult thing. It just is something you have to plan. If you don't want to have big loans, you can always just start with your bank, let them know that you want to have a credit card, that you pay monthly, and it's backed up by your checking account or your savings account. It's also important to remember having a check or a savings account and make monthly deposit. That's credit because nobody's forcing you to deposit money into your checking or savings account. You are putting it in there monthly on your own, and that does help on your credit report. When the community in the bank sees that if as a Latino you don't have credit, a lot of them thinks, you want what you want, but let's see if you're paying everything on time. Let's see if you're paying your phone on time. Let's see if you're paying your insurance on time. Those kinds of things help build your credit. And that's an alternative credit. That does help us a lot as a Latino if you don't have a lot of credit. But it's also important to work on it, to open your account for a credit card, or to also know when you're buying something, you have to pay it that month. You can't spend more than what you have. So if we're going to be using a credit card, we have to know monthly, I can make this much of a payment, $500, for example. So if you're going to pay it, or if you're going to use it, you have to know that you can pay it back. Otherwise, you're going to be paying a lot more. So that's why it's important to stay in your budget. Sometimes it's really easy to use it, but you have to know what you can pay every month. A lot of people, what they know, oh, let me pay $20 a month, and they just send their $20 or $40 or whatever it is. That doesn't help you. You are paying so much interest that you really shouldn't be paying. You have to be alert for how much you're making and how much you can spend. But it's also super important to have your credit card because they accept it in lots of places. And it's so much better to have a credit card with you. It protects you from crime. If somebody wants to rob you, it also helps with your credit. It's so important. Talking if you want to look at it from that point of view. I wanted to talk about some other ways that you can make your credit or improve your credit, talking about loans. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Yeah. The other way is like if you buy a car, that also helps. Your monthly payments, that will help. I recommend, like I recommended in the other program, that you don't get into big debts, because then when they're going to give you the money for the house, they're going to say, all right, how much do you make and how much do you owe? It's a percent of your income that they will give to you. So let's say $1,000, but your monthly payments are $600, $700. Your house payments would be $300. So it's very important that you don't have big debts. I know a lot of people that have a $600 car payment. It is almost what you could be paying for a house payment. So we have to be careful with that. Lots of people think, well, I'm going to pay it off real quick. Yeah, but right now, if you're in the process of trying to buy a house, you can't have that kind of debt. It does help you in your credit, but it doesn't help you when you're trying to have credit or show what you have available. So think if you're going to go to a bank where they don't know you at all, and they're ready to loan you money, but they are always going to see you as a risk. First of all, okay, if you have a house, all right, you have money to make the monthly payments, and then they'll check your income. Very important that people remember that. You have to have a job before applying for a house. And then if you want to change a job, it doesn't matter as long as it's the same line of work. But let's say you're working in one place where you're in construction and then you want to change to a restaurant. They're very different lines of work. So the bank will take that as like you're a little more risky because you're changing things up. So we want to see that you have years working in a place, they haven't fired you, that you're doing a good job. Those, and then they see that that income will continue. They just want to be sure that you're going to get paid. Another part, I also want to make sure that you have paid on time to other people. So that's where they start investigating how you're making your payments. And the third part that they're going to see is your house. So let's say, Alan, you want to buy a $100,000 house. The bank will say you qualify for 90,000, but the house you want is 100,000. So you have to understand, if they're going to only give you 90,000, you have to have 10,000, because that they're not going to borrow that to you because you didn't qualify for more than 90,000. So right now we're talking about the process, the steps for your credit, your income. And once the bank says, you know what? Okay, this person can make their house payment. If we look at their income and their credit, their payment history, and then they'll give you a document that says, you know what, that person is qualified for 100,000 or a different amount. So then that document that you have, that, oh, hold on, cutting out a little bit. More than anything, it's also important that you can get money for the down payment. It's important to have contacts with people from different agencies in the community saying, here it is, I've already been approved. So then they will recommend you with a real estate agent. So remember, we come from a country where paying in cash is the best. So having a paper that says, yes, you qualify for $100,000 is just like having cash. So if you go, you like a house, and you say, I'll offer you $100,000. Let's say they're asking 100,000, and you say, all right, I'll give you 100,000. So then the person sees that the bank has already approved you, that you are qualified for that amount. So they don't have to worry think if you can buy the house. The problem that we're seeing right now is that there isn't enough inventory of houses for people to buy. So you go, you make an offer, they're asking 90,000, let's just say. They're asking 90,000, you offer 90,000, and they say, you know what? Somebody else offered us 95,000 or 100,000. But the house is only evaluated at 90,000. So people are like, I don't care that they only evaluated it for 90,000. I'll offer you 10, 15, $20,000 more because I like it. So the person has to understand, if you're going to offer more than it's worth, the point of buying a house is not just a place to live, it's an investment. It's the best way and the only way in this country where you can accumulate credit. So let's say you're going to pay $20,000 or $10,000 more than what the house is worth, you're losing. The bank will only give you what the house is worth. If you want to pay more, you're actually starting with a negative number. Maybe a house that isn't worth what you paid. So I agree, 1,000, maybe 2,000, but when people are offering $10,000, $20,000 more, you're losing money by buying a house. So we have to educate people in the community. So, you have to really think about it before you make one of these big decisions. Maybe this is exactly the house you want. It's close to school, close to work, all those kinds of things. Okay, great. Because right now, I'll let you know how we should communicate with the real estate agent. So now, okay, you're approved. You have the letter that says, yep, you're approved. You can approve for up to $100,000. So you go and you find a real estate agent. So that person will recommend an agency in the community because they're used to, well, first of all, they speak your language, they understand your culture, they'll get to know you. But before we go and find a real estate agent, you have to, if you're buying it by yourself or together with your spouse, you have to get together and decide about what you really need in that house. Make a list of what you need and what you want. So if you decide you want 3 bedrooms, that's a need. I need this. I need that. Uh, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, close to the school. I want the house to have a garage. And then at the end, all of those kinds of things. Those are the things that I need in my house. And then another list where you said, I would like. There's a need and there's a want. So when you go, it's really challenging when you go to a house and you like everything. I really, really like it. I like the frames and the furniture, and I want the community to know that all of those things that call your attention are not your things. That's not what you're buying. Go around the house, look around the house, look at the details of the house. Are there watermarks? Are there, important things? Not like, oh, the furniture is so beautiful, the pictures are so beautiful. That, don't even look at it. Cover up your eyes. Don't look at it. It has nothing to do with it. Is the house, um, okay, it has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, it has a garage, has a big kitchen, everything that I need in a house. Check it out. And then if you can, okay, check off everything. Yep, here, here, here. And then make sure that your needs are covered first before your wants. First, what you need, and then what you want. So that will help you, will guide you to be able to say, yes, this is the house for me. I remember a lot of people saying when you see a house, you feel that it's your house. You feel, if I go in, I can feel it. This is my house. I like this. I like that. And there are some houses you walk in and you just say, no, no, it's not for me. So listen to your heart. And more than anything, your list. If it doesn't have what you need, um, don't get involved if it doesn't. If you're gonna pay more money, how are you gonna be able to say that? How are you going to be able to sell that? Not everybody is gonna be willing to pay $10,000, $20,000 more than what it's worth. So also, I mean, so those are in relation to that property. So now, most people are not experts when in housing and the structure of the house. So first, you got to think, okay, yep, this is the house, everything that I need, and a few things that I want. So this is the house. So then I'm going to make an offer. I'm going to make an offer that is within the amount that I've been approved for. And you got to know what it's worth because you have to do your checkouts and make sure, okay, this much is the taxes, this much it's been assessed by for the city, and usually that's less than what they're selling it for. So then your real estate agent will say, this kind of home, according to the houses around here that are of similar size, have a price of this much. So that will not be exactly what the bank does. People need to understand that once the offer has been accepted, the next step will be, yes, I like the house, I have financing, I have money, but I want to make sure that it's written in the offer that the house will be inspected. And that, now, for example, the inspector comes and says there's asbestos, which is a really toxic substance, and then you can jump out of the offer. You don't lose anything. You have to include that you want the inspection done. Lots of people confuse the inspection and the evaluation. Those are two completely different things. The evaluation, the bank does. Make sure that the house is worth enough. The inspection is done by an expert in housing structure. We tell the community when they're doing the inspection of the house, you should be there. It's the best and most important simple way that you can get to know your house. So the person comes, checks the heater, checks the electricity, and you're there, you're present, and you can ask, how does this work? How do I turn it on? How do I turn it off? So this is your opportunity so that you know where everything is, how everything works, in your possible home. The inspector will give you a report where they'll tell you, yep, this is off, this isn't working, or maybe he could say that everything's fine. But let's say he says the roof, it has no life in it. You have to repair it in less than a year or less than 2 years. And then he says, in this case, the roof will require a replacement in 7 years, which is probably like half of the life of a roof. That's not bad. You don't have to repair it right now, but it's important to write it down. We need to start saving for in 7 years when I have to buy a roof or put on a roof. And then all of the taxes that you're getting, because you're going to be able to claim more things and you'll get more money back, you have to be sure to set some away, set some aside, or all of it. So when it's 7 years, you have money. The heater has 3 years. Then you have to make a budget so that you're in the position to repair all of those things in maybe 5 years. So if there's 1 or 2 years, well, then you got to start negotiate because you won't have enough to pay in 2 years. You have to be able to negotiate that because you're not going to have $10,000 in 2 years for a new roof. So they can maybe replace the roof or they can reduce the price. Or they might say, no, I'm not going to do anything. If you want it, you can take it like this. If not, okay. That's part of the negotiation where the real estate agent will help you and they will negotiate so that everybody's happy with the purchase and the sale. We want the seller to be happy and the purchaser to be happy. Alan, it's also very important to mention that the real estate agent works for the seller, not for you. Well, if it's a specialty, but the majority works for the person that's selling the house, that does not mean that the person won't be fair with you, but just know that their role is to work for the person that's selling the house. Very interesting. Okay. I want to go back to where you were talking about the organizations that help with financing. Why is it so important to work with those organizations? Maybe I'm a person that is starting to look for a house. My credit's pretty good, or so, and I want to learn more about buying a home. So I start looking for different organizations like United Community Center. Well, yeah, it could be them or Houses Resourcing Inc. So tell us a little bit about the different organizations. Why is it so important to work with them? And what's the role that those organizations play, especially looking at WIDA? Well, most loans, remember we talked about insurance. We talked on last one talking about if you don't have 20% down, they're going to charge you a monthly payment because you're a risk. So most programs require education, more than anything, education for first-time home buyers. So education is, how do they all have classes where you bring your first time or your potential home buyers to a session and they show you, hey, the most important thing right now is, okay, what's the process when you're going to the bank? So they will bring in a person that works for the bank and they say, all right, we're going to require your ID, this, that, and the other thing. They will guide that person. And then they will also give you a contact. My name is, I have a lot of experience. I work with first-time home buyers. I work with the bank, and they'll show you what the process is right in that session. What is the bank looking for? What do you need to bring when you come to the bank? And they'll show you right in that educational session. So when you're approved, like I mentioned before, they will introduce you to a real estate agent. So then you'll have a person, you'll have access to that person. They'll tell you about their experience, they'll tell you about how everything that they're going to do for you. That's the offer that they're going to provide. They have all these components. This is a different way that you can protect yourself because once you have put money, okay, here's $2,000 I'm offering, and they accept the offer, those $2,000 stay with the seller until the house is sold. And if you decide, change my mind, I don't want a house anymore, just because you changed your mind, they stay with your money. But if you say, I don't want this house because it has structural problems, then they have to turn your money back to you. So they explain everything that you have to do, everything that's going to be in the offer. Because even if they work for the seller, they have the responsibility of being fair with the buyer. So that is showed in that session. So in that time, they'll bring in an inspector, and then the inspector says, all right, this is what I'll do. And they show you this, they show you that, then show you different kinds of examples, positive, negative, and they're showing you everything. This is what the inspector does. And then I come in with WHEDA and I say, all right, this bank is offering these programs. One of the programs that this bank has is a WHEDA program. And these are the benefits. And they explain everything. Low interest loans. We have a loan if you don't qualify for grants, maybe for down payment. If you want to repair the house and just have one loan, and we can put it all in one loan. So after all of these things that I mentioned, so then the agency comes in because they will tell you, all right, closing time, we'll bring a check. This is presented as part of your funds that are covered for the down payment. And then the bank will say, we're also part of Federal Home Loans of Chicago, and you qualify for $3,000 in addition to the community agency. And then you'll know where the money's coming from, what the process is. So we do it all through the banks. We are one of the programs that they have. And most of the banks that have a focus on the community use a lot of our programs. So talking about that, can you tell us which banks participate in your programs? And can you give us an emphasis? Do you have an office or where can they call you? If I want to get a loan, where do I go? How do I apply? I also want to talk about a person that comes to buy a house is somebody that hasn't had a house in the past 3 years. That's how you qualify. And it's really all banks that participate. We need to understand that it's good for a bank to have WIDA loans. Um, that is a program that is evaluated every year where they say how much has been turned back to the community. And having a loan from WIDA in their portfolio helps with the requirements that they have working with the community. So we help them qualify for the CRA. So a lot of banks have it. I can't recommend a specific one because most of them have them. I can't say which one you should go to. You should go to anyone that you're comfortable with. I can hope you put my information because if a person has any problems or they show up and the bank says, nope, we don't do that, I would like to verify that because really all banks should have it. All right. Well, I know we've already talked about it, but a lot of people in the community and myself, you think sometimes about the same thing. Why do I need to work with somebody like a real estate agent? Why do I have to work with somebody instead of buying a house directly? Yeah, of course. And you can. It's the best time to buy a house really because interest really low. But there's the disadvantage of that there's not enough inventory. So that question that you just asked is very appropriate because it's the best way to buy a house right now. For example, I know that my neighbor or my friend is going to sell their house. I'm going to talk to them and let them know I want to buy it. Lots of occasions, people that are selling their house it's better because then you don't have to pay a commission and you can sell it quick, especially if you have somebody that's interested. So it is beneficial for both people, but it's the biggest investment that you're going to make. So you have to be ready. You have to have somebody that's licensed to draw up the offer. You want everything to be legal so there's no problem saying for the person that's selling or the person that's buying. We want everybody to be on the same page legally. Everybody has to be evaluated because the person that buys it, you're going to want your evaluator looking at it. And the person that's buying also wants an evaluator to look at it. So also, you have to spend a little bit of money and the buyer will too. But today, a lot of people that are buying prefer to go that way because they know that their offer will be the only one because it hasn't been put on the market yet. So that is important. I am seeing and hearing that as soon as you put a sign saying my house is for sale, by owner, and you would think it's easy, but right now people are making offers for those houses more than what they're asking. And that's the same problem we have when you're on a list for real estate agents. So people see that this is the best time to sell and I can get whatever I want because people are going to buy it. So be very careful. Lots of fraud out there. If you want to buy it with somebody that you know, that's best. Um, because what is the biggest risk, Alan? The biggest risk is that you buy a house. Let's stick with the $100,000 that we've been talking about, and the house is worth that much, but they have a debt other than the bank with some other institution or somebody that comes and repaired the house. So when you're the homeowner, you take it on with all of the debt that it has. So maybe $30,000 for somebody that repaired something, and that debt belongs to the person who bought the house. So since you didn't do everything with a real estate agent, there are risks. But if you have somebody that's licensed, all of those things will be checked out and taken care of. And they'll check it out with the title company, and they will see, oh, nope, that house is only in debt for $100,000, and that's it. It's very important because us as Latinos, oh, I know him, I trust him, and then it's also the biggest investment of your life. You can't even trust about yourself because you can't trust that you know what you're doing because you don't. You have to be guided by somebody that's licensed. And then something else that I want the community to hear is that sometimes we say, I don't need an inspector. Somebody is really good for that. They're going to save me those $300. Honestly, if they're not an inspector, maybe they're in construction. You really need to work with somebody that has the capacity, that is professional in that area. Because in the minute that you need something, everybody's like, oh, I know everything. You have to get somebody that knows their specialty. An inspector works in that area. The the real estate agent, that's their area. And just because somebody thinks, oh, I bought a house, I know how it works. No, do not commit that error because later on you might have to pay for it. Very good suggestions. I think we've covered most of the themes for today. So your emphasis was on some really great points, especially one of the things that I didn't know and I hadn't heard before was about how you can buy a house directly. I thought you had to have a lawyer for the process. And before people go, if you can tell us, what kind of lawyer it is that we should have, or I know that the same lawyer that represents you when you buy a house isn't necessarily the same person that should represent the person that's selling the house, right? There's certain ethic rules and laws. So if you could talk to us a little bit more about that, the licensed person that is recommended is the person that is licensed in real estate. So occasionally, it kind of depends, but I've heard of people that say, I have a person that is trained and they're going to pay me this much. It's a little riskier, but if you know everything, that depends on how much you trust the person that's negotiating. Hmm. Yeah, of course. Anything else that you want to leave us with? Well, the suggestion that I have for today, your takeaway, when you're buying a house, you will pay less if you buy a house than what you rent a house. And rent can be increased. They can tell you you have to get out. And that affects so much things, your kids' school, your your school. So you have to have as much control of your life as you can. That's the best. So being owner, you're in control of a lot more things. Your kids, you're in control of the school that your kids go to. Your You can make repairs, you can make modifications. You can also, right now it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to find a house with super low credit. Honestly, it's almost a crime to not consider buying a house right now. Perfect. Thank you so much, Maria. We have one more show next week. I'm very excited for this show. It's been a great series and great time used. So thank you so much for all of the great information. And we will see you next Wednesday. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Thank you. You too. Thanks for the opportunity. Well, that was Maria Watts with WIDA. She is the Community Development and Economic Development Director with WHEDA. She's talking to us about credit, buying your home for the first time. And like she said, right now is a really good time to buy a house because interest rates are low. Uh, she explained everything about interest. And then also the fact that there's not a lot of houses in the inventory right now. So the homes are coming out to be even more expensive. But now let's go on with our next segment, our COVID-19 segment. Marlene left us a video. Scientists and pharmacists all over the world are developing COVID-19 vaccines. Vaccines prepare your immune system to fight and recognize different infectious diseases. If you expose your system, it will be able to respond stronger and quicker. They can prevent diseases or prevent for them to be even more serious. They are checked thoroughly before being approved. Australia is doing several controlled experiments to approve vaccines. Talk to your doctor if you have any questions about the vaccines. If you need any more information, we hope that Australia will have vaccines against COVID-19 by 2021. In the meantime, good hygiene, 1.5 meters of social distance, and if you're not feeling well, stay home and get a test, even when vaccines are available. Muchas gracias por toda la información. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for the information. That information was from Australia, but it's very similar to the US. We know that there's a vaccine here already. It's a global pandemic, though, so it affects everybody, not just, here in Wisconsin, all the way across the US and the entire country. So we're all in the same spot. I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for more than a month. I've seen the benefits. Now I can go out, I can, work easily. So please get vaccinated if you haven't already. So let's go over some community resources really quick. First of all, I want to share the resource that I found very very great because I actually went to one of their events. This is the calendar from Arts at Large. It's a really great nonprofit agency. Their goal is to bring art into the community here into Milwaukee. And what I wanted to share with you is the calendar that they have and their link to their calendar. We'll put it in the comments. And then here, the first event that they have is Arts for All, featuring Rochelle Melander. So that'll be an event this Saturday from 10 to 10:45 in the morning. Here's the address. I think it's a virtual one and in person. So it's a poetry event. The events are in English, but it's available for the entire community. And recently, last Friday, we went to Music Under the Stars. We saw a concert. It was free. It was at the Palafito Park. And it was a really great concert. It was great to be able to participate. And I recommend that you check out the calendar and register for an event. All right. Finally, I'm going to share a few block cleaning events that are going to be happening in these next few days. So, same day, Saturday, June 26th, 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. There will be a cleanup at, well, it's going to start at 1717 West Mitchell Street. That looks like it's a church. Jehovah is my pastor. So there is where it will start. There's information right here on who to contact. And then there's also another one on Washington Street, and it'll have a neighborhood meeting the 25th, Friday, from 6 to 7:30. And it's more in the afternoon, and it'll be at Washington Street. So here is all of the information. Luna, 16th Street Community Health Center, City of Milwaukee. And if you need any more information, just talk to us, or you can go to their Facebook page, our Facebook page. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope to see you guys on Friday, or I'm sorry, next Wednesday. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye. Has this forum been informative for you? What part of the forum can we improve or change? Let us know responding to a quick survey that can be found in the comments section. That way we can keep the program going for the residents. And thank you for tuning in.